Welcome to the Angelscapes podcast, where you're encouraged to uncover and develop a direct connection with your soul's power, wisdom, and spiritual intuition that is ready to blossom. We'll explore new ideas, compelling tips, and real steps to help you learn simple spiritual practices. We're a safe place to learn more about accessing your soul's power with education and spiritual wholeness that could bring more clarity to your life. Now here's your host, a practicing medium, Akashic Records practitioner, spirit artist, coach, and mentor, Dr. Reverend Nancy Smith.
Is something bothering you and you can't get over it? What is the silent scream in your life that needs to be heard? Joining me today, hello, this is Angelscapes, and I'm your host, Nancy Smith. And joining me today is Patty Shaw. We're going to talk about recognizing the parts within yourself that are stuck and suffering. We will talk about what to do when something is bothering you and you can't get over it. And we're going to discuss healing wounds from the past. We will define what inner work really means. Patty Shaw is a certified healer practitioner in the direct divine light healing. She's also a spiritual counseling using the Akashic Records. She is studying at the Spiritual Arts Institute. She's also the vice president of Coventry Creations, a place where intentional products that are made that inspire and motivate people to live their lives. And look at coventrycreations.com. And they're celebrating 30 years in business now. So that's a huge, big milestone. And Patty, you can find Patty, and we'll talk more about her she has books on coventrycreation.com, and you can also find her on Facebook as Patty Shaw Healing with Patty Shaw. Welcome to the show, Patty.
Thank you. Boy, I sound like I've accomplished a lot in my life, huh?
Well, you have. I didn't even go through all the books and all the good, cool stuff. And Patty does have a practice that you do in Michigan. Pat's from Michigan. Do you do online stuff too, Patty?
Yeah, mostly over the phone, and the direct divine light work is in person. I can also do the spiritual counseling in person as well. But we get so we don't want to leave our home and get out of our jammies. So over the phone works really well.
Yeah, and the Zoom too. We're doing this live on Facebook through the Zoom. We have people that are listening to here from all over the country. So I just wanted them to, if they like the way you talk, how you hear, how you present healing, they may be interested in connecting to you from far, far away. So
I'm happy to be of service.
All right, thanks. So Patty, we had a long conversation before we started, and we wanted to talk about understanding how life works. Was one of your clients said.
Yes.
And you're tired of suffering, and there's so many things that bring us to this place of being tired. Like you're successful, but you just can't feel it. There's anxiety, agoraphobia, and then there's the times when you can't get past something like an ex, or losing a job, or whatever it could be. And you have a beautiful protocol for stepping in and working with people. Talk to me a little bit about that.
I would love to. So most of my clients call because they're mature adults, they're successful, and life is not as fulfilling or as joyful as they thought it would be, because of they've got all these like boxes checked off. And so they call and they say, I'm sick, or I'm not happy, or as you mentioned, I'm just not getting over that last bad relationship, or I lost my job and I've fallen into a big funk over it. I can't seem to get myself motivated to get out there and look for another job. So that's usually when I get the call, and it's such an honor, such a beautiful place to be with somebody that is just needs a little bit of help, that little push. I work with other clients who are sick and they can't seem to get their physical body healthy. And so we work with the reasons why the physical body is not responding to being healthy and letting go of all that pain and suffering.
Yeah, there was a story that you were saying this one person was not really understanding what you're doing. Everything was very new to this person.
Yeah.
And she was kind of like, well, and then finally something struck home.
Yeah.
And she came back and said, I want to understand how this life stuff works. What's
Yeah.
going on?
That was a beautiful moment. That I was so honored to be present for that. So this client called and um, was in a pretty bad way. They were suffering. They are suffering with depression and anxiety, and it's been ongoing most of their life. But they just hit this really critical place in their life, and I was recommended. And this person already is seeing a doctor, a therapist, and it was kind of like, it's sort of working. I can get through my day, but their sparkle is gone.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but don't talk to me about God. Don't talk to me about religion. And it's like, okay, well, this is spiritual work. How do I help this person? How do I get in their head and into their language? So we started talking about energy. So I asked him, well, what do you do for a living? Well, this person's an engineer. And I said, okay, I think I know how to speak your language. So we started talking about energy and the quality of the energy. And because this person didn't know anything about the aura or chakras, I I had a fun time just teaching about that. So we had two things: God trauma, religion trauma, and then discouraged and didn't know anything about metaphysics. And so I could feel, because that's part of spiritual healing, is you feel your client, that his cup was full. And
Oh,
there was not going to be an opportunity in this session to open up some closets and look at some skeletons and introduce them to some wounded inner children. So that's where my direct divine light healing work was so important. So guided meditation, getting them grounded, start working with the light, energizing his aura, filling up his chakras. And by the time we were done with the first two main pieces, which is purification and then energizing with the healing ray, I said, well, he was feeling pretty chill. He was relaxed.
very
And I
nice.
said, well, what do you need the most? And like you said, the answer was a shocker to me. I was not even ready for this. I said, what? So the beginning of the session, talking about I'm depressed and anxious, and I just sometimes I have trouble controlling my anger. And by the time we got through all of that purification, all that sweetness, and working with the light, my client says, I really want to know how life works.
Oh,
What a change! What a
yeah.
transformation just
Yeah.
in the 40
Beautiful.
minutes that we worked together with bringing down the light. And I hope I get to work with this person again, because we can really start doing some,
Some
that
stuff now.
spiritual psychology that I love to do
Yeah.
with talking through the wounds of the past, right?
You made a comment and during our conversations that's really precious to me. We talked a little bit about how the healing work, the energy healing work is so different than getting talk therapy, although you do go to those wounds. And you were saying, I'd like to talk about that a little bit more, but the thing I want to bring up at this point is that you're talking to their soul, you're talking to their guides, you're talking, and they're telling you're what to do, where to go next with the person. And like you said, I could feel their energy. Talk to me a
Mhm.
little bit about that.
Sure. I'm not saying that therapists or psychologists do this or don't
Oh,
do this. They just don't talk about it if they have that skill. I work with a set of tools and that involve your energy, the quality of your energy. I use my senses to pick up on that. And then I work with the guides. I make sure that I'm tuned in with the guides and all under the direction of God. All of it is very spiritual, and it's spiritual root work. So that's why I can get into like, what's the vibration of the soul? Where's the
Mhm.
soul at? Is the soul groggy, full on asleep, or trying to wake up? What's going on there? How curious is the soul about the way the universe works? Who it is?
Mhm.
And we kind of like juggle in between, like where this person is going and
Mhm.
where they have been. And where we have been is the foundation and created today where we are now. So yeah, we will need to be looking at that and the quality of that energy. And that is kind of where the aura is
Mhm.
at the time of the session. So
Mhm.
yep, it's a combination of all of the I call it like listening to the silent scream. And
Yeah.
sometimes my client doesn't even hear it anymore, but I'm tuning in and going, wow, hello.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you know that
Yeah.
you have a little guy or a little girl in the background going, hey,
Yeah.
look at me. I'm tired of sitting in the mud here.
Yeah, exactly. Um, so what got you into this work? I think we've talked about this a few times already, but
Hmm.
you came into the work, and you've stayed in the work, and you've had many iterations throughout your life, your healing life, your healing practitioner life. And what keeps you in? I guess what got you into it and what keeps you in it?
What got me into it was losing my job, I think.
Oh,
And I was afforded the space and time to explore other things.
mhm,
And I asked myself, who am I? Um, and what do I want to do with my life?
mhm.
Before losing my job, I was a landscape designer, and I was talking to my mom, which is your mom too.
Who's
We're
my idea?
sisters. Um, that the landscape design work was fun and beautiful and rewarding in its own way, but it didn't feel like I was making a difference in the world.
Mhm,
And that rolled off my tongue like I planned to say it, and I absolutely did not. And I remember saying that. It's like, and then when stopped working as a landscape designer, I remembered saying that. It's like, oh,
oh,
well, maybe I'll find out now. I have the time and the space to do that. Find
find
out
out.
who I am and what do I want to do, and what does that mean to me that I want to, do something
Yeah.
special in the world. And I started looking, and I in our area we had this magazine called the Phenomena News. It was a spiritual magazine like all the rest of them out there. And there was this whole movement that I had no idea existed. They were psychics and tarot card readers and healers and spiritualists, and it was the new age. I had no idea what it was. And so I'm pouring through it. And I had decided I wanted to learn how to be a healer. And my only really um, connection to that was that movie, um, Resurrection. And I tell this story
Mhm.
over and over again. The movie Resurrection, where uh, did she get in an accident or something? She couldn't walk. I think she got in an accident, um, and she healed herself, and then it just awakened the spontaneous healing ability in her, and then she helped other people heal physical. She's a physical healer. And I thought, I'd like to do that. I don't know
Mm,
what I'm talking about, right? So so I found a teacher in my area, and I went through her program. And majority of the tools I use started out with her and her
mhm,
program. It's a beautiful program. And then just kept on going. When I was done with her program, I got into Reiki. And then eventually I found my way to Spiritual Arts Institute, so I don't ramble my words, and learned the direct divine light healing. I'm still with that school. Now I'm a mystic in the making.
Oh, lovely, lovely.
And then I did learn to work with the Akashic Records, and you were helpful in introducing me to that, which I had no idea what it was. And our other sister, Jackie, as well. She was interested in working in the Akashic Records. Um, and then I went full on crazy with that. I developed a little program with another friend of mine on teaching people how to work in the Akashic Records. That lasted about 3 or 4 years, and then life happened and it kind of fell away. But it
Okay, yeah.
it was beautiful work. It still is beautiful work. I don't know. I may get back to it. But so
Mhm.
why am I still doing this? Because I love it. I love helping people. It is so rewarding to help someone have their aha moment and feel better. It's mostly about feeling better and finding joy and hope in life again. That's my
So
sweet
true.
spot.
Yeah, so true. So true. We had a little conversation, many conversations, not just recently, about what the heck is inner work. And wounded children and inner work seem to go together, although there's a lot more to it than that.
Mhm.
But I would love to, I think, to help people define or understand when somebody says, do your work, or you have some inner work to do. What does that mean?
Okay. So one of the tools that I use and many spiritual healers use is the working with the inner child. And that was a concept that was brought out by Carl Jung, and it makes total sense. So a lot of therapists and spiritual counselors grabbed onto it and really honed it and learn how to work with it. Um, my understanding that Carl discovered it sort of by accident, um, dealing with his own feelings and emotions, and I don't know if he coined the term, but it, it was I think a stroke of brilliance. So with the inner child is um, your emotional baggage that you keep in your subconscious that keeps you connected to whatever trauma you experienced when you were a child. Um, in the work I do, we treat it as a literal wounded inner child. A um, Some of the language is it's a part of your soul that was disassociated, and its consciousness is alive and active still in your psyche, in your aura. And so it influences your adult life, and
Definitely.
it can cause you to have unreasonable fears. It can cause you to have unreasonable or emotional outbreaks that you don't understand, anger, um, anything that you put into the category of I can't do this because, and you really can't define it, but you just know that it will turn out badly. Low self-esteem, addictions are all symptoms that there's a wounded part of you that's still young. So, in a nutshell, that's the wounded inner child.
Mhm.
Now, I also work with an inner child that is called the magical inner child. And this little darling is full of hope and curiosity and joy. And um, it's often helpful to reconnect my client to this magical inner child who is eternal and always there. Some people um, say that it could be the part of your soul, or it could be the Christ child within. It could be a spark of God within you. However you call it, when we personalize it as the magical inner child, we reconnect with that part of us that is courageous and brave and was never changed from any of the experiences that we've ever had in our life. And I've seen clients just really perk up and remember who they are by connecting with
Mm,
that piece of
yeah.
themselves.
It's lovely.
And so
Yeah.
we don't have to heal it. We don't have to graduate it. We don't have to make it go away. We just bask in it.
Feel the happiness of that
Feel,
magical inner child.
feel it. Feel that happiness.
Yeah. I've talked to so many different people over the years about inner work and what that means. Um and I've come to the conclusion, and so has several other people, that none of us get through life without being traumatized as a child at some point somewhere. That's just
Nope.
part of coming in. And so we all need to do that coming into wholeness, which includes working with the inner parts, the children. They could be pre-verbal, they could be 3 years old, they could be 7, they could even be 12 or 13, depending on the different circumstances. And
Yeah,
how do you
I've gone as far as talking about the inner wounded teenager, the inner wounded young adult, the inner wounded yesterday person.
yeah.
I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
it,
Yeah.
they happen. Mhm.
So how would somebody recognize that there is a woundedness within themselves, a disassociated part that's running the show? What things would they look for and recognize that that's what's happening?
Okay. Uh, feeling stuck, feeling absolutely stuck. They have that place in their life, or their goals for their life is, I can't go there. I can't do that.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah, you mentioned that before. Yeah.
I think mine would probably be public speaking. I can't do that. And anytime I have to do
Yeah.
public speaking, I'm like, do I have to? I'm sure you are familiar with yours too, where
Oh yeah.
you
Yeah.
just can't go there. Um, when I meet a client, we're talking about what their goals are for the session or for the multiple sessions that they want to do, and we always check in because goals change, right? Um, when they start talking about um, trouble with addiction or low self-esteem, anxiety, depression, um, uh, I hate my mother, I hate my father. Those are really obvious ones.
Yeah.
Um, any kind of inability to function in life. And I know that's really, really broad, but you know when you're going for something and you feel the brakes coming on right in your gut, 9 times out of 10, there's something there. There's an
Mm.
experience there
Mhm.
that is alive and well and kicking and saying, no, we've tried this before and it turned out really bad. And I'm going to
Mhm.
save you from doing it again.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Mhm.
Um, let's see. You said that in the one of the healing sessions, this one particular client was not going to be able to do inner child work. He was in this whole different place. But how would you introduce somebody in a session to their inner child? How would you, if they're ready
Mm.
for it and want to hear it, what would you be doing?
Um, the best policy is honesty. I just come right out and talk about the concept. And usually people are very curious about this. And, we frame it in a situation, and I frame it so that they feel safe. First and
Hmm.
foremost, they have to feel safe because they're going to go to a place where they didn't feel safe
Hmm.
emotionally or mentally or physically.
Hmm.
And so we set that up to be um, even safer than a memory. And uh, they can take whatever they want with them: a teddy bear, a best friend, um, a bouncer if they feel they need it, and if and they get to pick whatever they want. And then we do a guided visualization meditation of sorts to go to the place where this wounded inner child is living. And if they
Hmm.
can't connect with it mentally, which is usually the hardest way to do it, we try to connect with this emotionally. um, I start with, where is it pinging in your body? Where do you feel a twinge? Where do you feel pain? Where do you feel butterflies? And we'll go there, we'll see what happens. And usually always we're successful. there's so many ways to connect with that wounded inner child, and I hope I answered the question. I kind of
And it's
started
a
rambling.
great answer. I think
Okay.
there's tons of ways, and there's tons of ways to heal. Like some of the healing work that I've done with inner children has been to sit with them in your imagination, just hug them and hold them. Other times it would be to take them out of a constriction. Sometimes I'll see something allegorically holding them, and so removing things, or just behaviors. Once the session was over, there's an agreement that we're going to pay more attention to certain aspects of their life, or they're gonna go to the ice cream store, or they're gonna go shopping for some whatever, to bring that inner child a recognition, or a place. So I mean,
Those are all excellent follow-up exercises. And, you know, getting in touch with this inner child generally is not like looking for the boogeyman at all. Once we find this inner child, and my client is like connected, their abilities
yeah,
to nurture and want to reach out and take care of
right,
this little girl, this little boy, just blossoms. And
right.
um,
Yeah,
yeah,
I've seen that. Yeah,
to nurture yourself is so loving and so powerful, and 1,000 times healing. Very,
absolutely.
very healing. And
Yeah,
it we start out talking about like you have a trauma and a wound and a wounded inner child, and
yeah.
the client be like, I don't want to look at that. But when they get there, like, oh,
Oh, yeah,
you're so cute,
yeah,
you're so sweet. And they just make this connection of love. And I think sometimes they forget that they're loving themselves. And then the healing process that happens over that, like you said, they're there in their imagination, but they're giving this little one the hugs, the kisses, the rocking,
yeah, yeah.
um, the candy, the toys, the whatever they need.
Attention.
Yep.
Yeah. Um, I have to say, somebody's asked me this, and people sometimes back off from the inner children work because they think they have to relive the trauma. They have to tell the story
Mhm.
all over again. And I have, I don't see, there's been plenty of healing that I have experienced and healed in my clients where they did not go into the story. They did not have to remember this stuff. They simply had to remember to pay attention to the inner child who's maybe crying or unsure of him or herself, and do what is being asked, or respond to what that healing child meant. But lots of times the story isn't the main focus. Most of the times, the story of how that happened is not the main focus at all. Or there may be some general discussions of, I've always been left here because nobody paid attention to me. And the answer isn't the story. The answer is the new kind of love that you're offering that part of yourself. Does that make sense to
Yep.
you?
It's totally a rescue mission. It's a rescue mission. Pull that inner child out of that situation that they're actually continuing to stay on that loop of reliving that situation.
Right.
And they really don't have any other reality for
Correct.
them, because if they did, they wouldn't be stuck, right? So going
So
in,
actually, inner child, rescuing the inner child out of that
mhm,
stops that loop.
yep,
Is-
pulling them right out of it. And then this is how I work, but it makes total sense to me. You bring in the guides and the angels and the light and the energy that is needed there to cleanse all that baggage out, cleanse out all of the belief systems that you had, or that part of you had at the time.
Mhm,
I believe that I'm unlovable because my parents both went to work all day and left me with a babysitter, and the
mhm,
babysitter was mean, boring, ugly, whatever it
mhm,
is, or wouldn't play with me. They weren't as nice to me as my mom and dad were, or maybe they were mean. Maybe they scared you.
mhm. Is there- yeah.
Um, and so, what does the little one believe? If nonverbal, that's really young. You're just rocking that baby.
Mhm,
But older wounded child can interact and say,
mhm.
yeah, I really hated it when mom and dad went away to work, and I felt so alone, and it just and you rescue them right out of that situation, say that is over. That is over now. And thank you so much for helping me grow up. Because you held the space for me, I could move on and grow forward. And that
Right.
was one of the most powerful things that my teacher taught me in how to counsel these wounded inner children is to rescue them, thank them, tell them it's all over and we're moving forward, and you kiss that bad news goodbye. And I haven't met an inner child that argued with that. No, they say, let's go.
Let's get going.
Let's
So
go.
glad you saw me. So glad you're here
I've
are
been
hearing
screaming your
me.
name for years.
I know, where have you been? Where have you been?
I'm over
But
here.
I'm so glad to see you.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I even gave you a gallbladder attack to get your attention.
had that happen. Yeah, you said nonverbal a little bit. I have had some of the inner work that I've done. Takes me, went all the way back to pre-verbal,
Mhm.
where all I had was this overwhelming emotion of terror and fear. I don't have the story with it. I have no idea. I just know that it was quite young and quite small. And so the healing was, again, the rocking and the paying attention. I actually bought a little doll, a little baby doll with red hair.
Aw.
And I just carried her around for a little bit as we went through the healing. And there was a significant shift in my panic attacks, in my fear. So talk a little bit about pre-verbal, and you don't know the story. You have no clue. You can still heal.
This is where I lean on the guides to
Mhm.
and the Akashic, the information in my clients' Akashic records to tell me what's going on. Sometimes it's like, you don't need to know the story, but this is the kind of healing that is needed.
Mhm.
There's abandonment here. There is a birth trauma here. Maybe the
Mhm.
baby was injured coming out of the birth canal, or it
Mhm.
was a C-section and the baby had a reaction to it. It's all nervous system stuff like that. And then it could get really spicy. Maybe it's a soul reaction. And so then we
Mhm.
start
Mhm.
talking about how the soul felt about reincarnating again.
Yeah, soul's not
Maybe
so,
it
yeah,
was not into it. Maybe it says it was,
yeah,
I know I got to
I
be
know,
here, but I don't want to be. And it has a little temper
yeah,
tantrum.
yeah.
So, and we take all of that very seriously. We don't make light of it. And because it's again about loving and nurturing that part of us through the experience that got imprinted on the nervous system, on the mind, on the heart, on the soul, that said, I'm not safe. I don't like it here. This is wrong. God made a mistake. I mean, the reasons go on and on. And the reason gets bigger and bigger the more you try to, resolve it, because there's resistance in the very beginning.
Yeah, let's talk about a little bit that resistance. We have the huge protectors that are within us, protecting those little children. That's the piece that I run into several times, and they're not going to let us anywhere near those kids until something, an agreement comes, or the right things are put into place. What is your
Mhm.
experience with that resistance, and
Yeah,
what are some techniques?
the resistance uh, is straight up, I don't understand what's happening
Mm.
here, and I'm not budging until I can, and someone explains this to me. So sometimes we can put it into a little formula or format and say, okay, your resistance is a contract. You signed this little contract that says, I'm not moving forward until I get X, Y, and Z.
Mhm.
Um, or I can't move forward because of X, Y, and Z. And that is totally un resolvable,
Mhm.
So these are really contracts that are kind of binding and stuff. So um, because my client is grown up now, they can look back and say, well, I could totally see how I wrote that as a young child. Or if we're in the pre-verbal, that was a locked in emotional or physical stimuli locked in.
Mhm.
My chiropractor calls it interrupted fight or flight. It's
Oh,
It's not
interesting.
it's not about remembering a trauma or anything. It's just the brain just says, we're in trouble, we're in trouble, we're in trouble. And it's
You
stuck,
can't, yeah, stuck.
stuck. So we can go in there and kind of like, like hit the old tube TV, get things
Tum, tum,
back in
tum, tum.
focus.
Yeah.
But so we lovingly, right, of course, help, you know, take it out of the loop and get things moving forward on that level of work. So we it could be a contract, it could be a thought form, it could be
Mhm.
astral, which we use that term when it's to identify that it's very emotional. So however it takes place, however the guides want to work with me and say, a lot of times they'll say, yeah, it's like that. So we can work with it. Something about identifying it and naming it is very helpful
Mhm.
in
Mhm.
loosening up, and finding a little corner that we could tear off, or the thread out of a ball of yarn, just to kind of get it going, um,
Mhm.
so it can unravel or loosen up. That's how they
Yeah.
coach me along.
Well, yeah, and your spirit guides and their guides and the souls are coaching you along. I do want to take a moment, and there are several people watching, and a couple of people said, "Oh, I would love a session." If to get a hold of Patty Shaw, you could search "Healing with Patty Shaw" on Facebook, and you'll find her page, and you could friend her or direct message her, and
Mhm.
she'll happily respond. Um,
And I did put my phone number. I checked my Facebook page. I did put my phone number and my email address there, but my website is no more.
No more. Yeah, there's a lot of people leaving websites behind and using social media, and that's one of your
Mhm.
tools you're using. If you guys have trouble reaching her for some reason, just reach out to me because you're on my page right now listening to this live. And if you are listening to it through podcast or YouTube, look for Nancy of Angelscapes, Nancy Smith of Angelscapes, and you'll find me that way as well. Or you could go to my site, angelscapes.net, and you can find me all kinds of ways, Facebook, Instagram, and I will connect you with Patty no matter what it takes.
Well, we're
So
sisters and we talk a lot, so
we do talk a lot.
chances are very good she'll be able to
Good.
get a hold of me.
Yeah. Patty works with colors, and you've sent me some of the information. I've listened to some of the information from your school, but the colors have been amazing to me just to meditate on the colors. Let's talk
Yes.
just a tiny bit about those.
Okay. So, and that's the direct divine light healing. I got a certification in that technique, and that work is through Spiritual Arts Institute. The teacher is Barbara Martin and Dimitri Moretis. And I've been a student of their school for about 7 years, and I can't say enough good things about them. Um, so, the direct divine light is bringing down light that has a color, but it also has an attribute or consciousness to it. So we're not just shining light on you that has a color lens on it. It is spirit light, and it's coming down from the heaven worlds, and it is coming into your auric field, and it is making changes, and it is bringing in this dynamic attribute. For example, and one of my favorites is peace, and it's purple, and it comes into your space, and you're like, ah. And I tell you what, all your problems go away. It is a total Calgon, take me away kind of vibration. And
Nice.
when when um, when you're in the presence of this purple ray of peace, it calms your mind. It slows down your butterflies in your stomach,
Mhm.
and it's very, very healing. I mean, a lot of all the colors heal, but this purple ray of peace has a way of healing that is, um, helps you to rise above all of your problems. And when someone comes to see me for a down ray, they get like 8 colors, and the session takes about 45, 50 minutes. And they might come in all jangly mess and saying, I can't deal with my life anymore. And they leave like, I'm fine. I'm fine. I can't believe that I'm fine. And they're
I love
so
it.
peaceful and they're so happy. They're just, and they like, they're, they're, bouncing down the sidewalk feeling good. And a session generally leaves somebody feeling really solidly good for at least 2 weeks, as long as they
Wow.
don't, as long as they don't throw themselves back into the fire from the frying pan.
Yeah.
Um, they don't deliberately interrupt this beautiful work they have gotten. So for those of you who don't live in Michigan or can't see me, um, there are audios of um, the meditations that go with the color rays, and that's Change Your Aura, Change Your Life,
Oh, lovely book.
work
You
work
you can,
workbook and meditation CDs.
yeah, you
I
can, and
think
they're on Amazon and they're on Audible as well.
I thought they were, yeah, Audible.
Yeah.
So if you're getting into meditation and you just don't get the point of it, or it doesn't grab your attention, try these meditations because they're pretty powerful. I call them working meditations because
Mm.
you're not just singing Om and hoping
Oh no,
something wonderful happens.
you're
Yeah,
working and you feel it.
but it's good work
Mm,
and
it's good work.
it does change you.
I want to
So
say that sometimes I can't sit still for meditation, so I have been
mhm,
taking them on long walks with me. And
nice.
so the fresh air and the sunshine and the long walks, they work well for those of us who have ants in our pants. So the name of the book is Heal Your Aura,
Change your
Your
aura,
Aura,
change your
Your
life.
Life,
Yep.
and by Barbara
Barbara Y. Martin and
Martin Weimer.
Dimitri.
Right?
Yep, and
Okay,
Dimitri Moretis.
Change
Yeah.
Your Aura, Change Your Life. Talk a little bit about the aura, just a tiny bit, because I have another question I don't want to miss before you get off, but talk a little bit about the
the
aura.
the aura is the the field that's around the physical body, and if you stretch your arms out to the fingertips, that's the outer edge of your aura, and it goes all the way around you and below your feet. It has a protective edge on the outside, and then inside the aura is all your stuff, and so many important things that sustain your life, help you grow your mind and mature your emotions. And it has everything that you need to awaken and support you on your spiritual path. And it does so much for your physical body as well. Um, we would not stay alive if we didn't have our aura. The aura connects us to the source of everything, which is God. And the light is constantly being renewed and exchanged in and out of the aura, and then using the chakras, which are the vortices, the
Mm.
energy, little little gosh, drawn a blank, energy vortices. Everyone kind of figures that out. They 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 push old energy out and they pull new energy in. They're always doing the exchanging. They're the little engines, I guess. And let's see, in the aura is your past, and also it shows how you are thinking and feeling and acting right now. So if we could see each other's aura, we would see um, all the things that we hide from each other.
Ooh,
Yeah,
yeah. In the
auras
book,
don't lie.
Change Your Aura, Change Your Life, some color illustrations, color plates in the book. And they show what the aura looks like in certain situations: depression, sadness, anger,
Oh yeah,
repressed
those are
feelings.
great.
Oh my gosh. They y- um it was so revealing to me. It's like
Oh yeah, they tell a story. They
they
completely
do.
tell a story. So somebody who is not doing well, they're angry, they're acting out on it, they're cheating, they're stealing, their aura to be very de-energized, and the colors will not be bright, they'll be very
Mm.
dull. And the aura starts to square off, like put you in a box, limited thinking, On the other side of the story, you have the enlightened person or the awakened person. Their aura is um, starting to go oval, and because it's reaching up to God, and there's the light is bright and clear. The colors are clear. You have all the colors of the rainbow, and then stars start to show up,
Mm.
and inspirations start to show up, and
Yeah.
this person is really on their way.
Now, I had a question. I'm watching the little Facebook feed. Gail says, how do you keep your aura intact? I heard it's not good to have a gaps in your aura. Is that something that
No,
does happen?
you certainly would not want a gap or a hole or a crack in your aura. It would be the same as if you had a hole in your boat. You would start
Oh,
losing energy or taking on something, or be vulnerable to the outside world. So how do you fix it? Working with fixing the aura is directly working with the light. So um, you would need help from the angels and archangels and those in spirit who are specialized in fixing the aura. This is not something we do for each other as human beings. It's it's um, it's heavenly work. So
oh,
doing the meditations, bringing in the light, um, and asking for repair um, of your auric field is how you do that. Praying works. Praying works. So there's a condition though. You have
mhm.
to change. You have to change. So the reason that there is a weakness in the auric field is because of something that you are doing that is diminishing your power.
It's true,
So
true.
negative thinking, indulging in
Addictions.
addictions, negative emotions. Um, so my teacher would say we do not have the luxury of um, ugly, bad thoughts, feelings, words, anything like that. So strengthening and healing your aura is about good thinking, good speaking, good feeling, good activities.
And
So
clearing, sometimes I just want to be clear, um, that I say this so many times on so many of my shows is when you have a bad feeling or when something has happened to you that is frustrating or angry and you're stuck with it, expressing it isn't destroying you or destroying your aura, it's releasing the negativities. And sometimes using these colors, the first step that the colors do is to clear. Um,
yeah,
and so recognizing that there's a problem, nourishing yourself, I believe you, I'm listening to you, and what do we need to do to take action is so very important
hmm
in this healing, this auric work as well.
hmm
So I have some people
yes.
that just say, "If I just say this 100 times, I won't feel this bad anymore." Let's talk
Well,
about why you're feeling bad. Let's
yeah.
go there.
So affirmations are very powerful. But to your point, Nancy, the very first thing that Barbara has us do is purify,
Yeah.
purify, purify, purify. And that's with the orange red flame. And it's also, you have to let it go.
Mhm.
You cannot keep calling that back to you. You can't keep being in the victim mode of, and returning to your woe is me, and I'm not
Right.
making light of it. I mean, some of these things are really take time to stop going back to the victimization that um, could be putting holes in your aura.
Mhm.
So just keep working at it. That
Yeah. Keep
just
working on it.
keep paddling in the right direction.
I know that the negative, the feelings that you have aren't there forever. They're simply there to guide you to say this isn't quite right, and then moving in towards clearing yourself out. But you can't
Yeah,
quite if you need to do the clearing,
yeah. And understanding what forgiveness
right?
is very powerful. Um, Often a client who is new to the work, when we start talking about forgiveness, they're like, "Oh no, I could never forgive that person for what
Right?
they did. Never." So then we start talking about what kind of contract did you just write here right
Mhm,
in front of my
mhm.
face, to say that you you wouldn't feel right about the situation unless you were always tied to it to remind yourself and this
So,
other person that a very terrible thing happened. You done me
right.
wrong and I'm never going to let you forget it. Well, what happens is that in your aura can't forget it too. You cannot move forward. You cannot heal that little piece.
Yeah. And there could be soul contracts. What soul contracts did you make? Or what soul contracts did you make a couple of lifetimes ago that you're right smack got your nose up against,
Mm-hmm.
that you could clear that out as well, or
Yeah.
face it and feel it and then clear it. Um, I wanted to talk to you about, you talked about the God trauma and the religion trauma. Now,
Yeah.
we're kind of in a problem. We're going to do spiritual work, and our mom had a huge big God trauma. Um, but to do spiritual work, can you do it even with the God trauma? You started to talk about it a little bit, but first of all,
Yeah.
what is that? And then what do you do with it?
Well, a God trauma, uh, I I would say is like for our mom, for example, when something very, very terrible happens and you blame God. Uh, a lot of people do that. They lose a
Mm,
loved one. Why did God do that to me? I mean, a lot of people say it. So that is a God trauma that is saying that I don't know who God is. I don't even understand what's going on here, but I'm in the most pain I've ever been in before, and I can barely, barely, barely tolerate it. And so, since God is the most powerful thing in the universe, He should have been able to fix this. And so now I'm taking personally that um, I'm suffering, and God didn't fix it for me.
mm,
And staying very, very narrow in your perspective. And then religion trauma is basically that you were in a religion and you were wounded by it in
mm,
some way. It could have been psychologically, or there was inappropriate behavior with a person of authority in the religion, and you were wounded that way. So that's religion trauma. Also, if a religion makes you feel like you are a sinner, that's a religion trauma.
mhm.
So there's a lot of ways that you can get traumatized by religion. Nailed
Absolutely,
to a cross,
absolutely.
for example, or
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, I've
humiliated.
humiliated or ostracized.
Hmm.
I feel that for me, seeing some of the big God traumas is that that there are many things between you and God, that you have to go through many doorways or have many blessings, or somebody has something outside of yourself has to say that you're okay now, that you're pure enough to connect with God. That is
Hmm.
false. Um,
Yeah, I
I
felt that
believe.
one.
Yeah.
I felt that one. It was a very eye-opening realization when I was trying to do this healing work without God. I really was. True confession. You all heard it here first. um, but yeah, when I realized I was doing that, it's like, okay, I have to fix this before I can go any further
Yes. Yeah.
because I was doing God's work and I was trying to do it.
Without that.
And it was total fakery. I wasn't doing anything without God. I was just tricking myself. So yeah. So that was a self-worth God trauma.
Mhm, mhm,
And God didn't do anything to me. I just was afraid. I was afraid of this all powerful being.
mhm.
And I could probably connect that pretty easily to religious trauma because being raised Catholic
Yeah,
and being in those
yeah,
giant churches with that huge crucifix hanging over you and all the suffering of the saints. And it
mm,
just, for a young child, it could be like, whoa, I don't think I
yeah,
want to know God.
I know.
This guy looks scary.
There's this joke, but I can't resist but share it. This little kid, he's going to school, and he just failing math, something terrible. His parents are beside themselves because they want him to excel. They want him to do good. So they take him and put him in a private school, and he still fails, and he doesn't study. And then finally they said, we're going to send him to the Catholic school. So they send him to the school, and they'll have
Poor
to go to
kid.
church, and they come out, and he comes home first day of school, opens his books and starts working right away on his math. And this happened one day after another day after another day, and he kept working on it. And they said, well, what's the difference? Why you don't believe that you don't have to learn your math? And he goes, oh yeah, you get up there, there's a guy nailed to the plus sign. It's like they mean business, and I'm going to learn my math.
Oh yeah. Crucified on the plus sign.
Exactly.
Oh my
But
gosh.
they scare ourselves into being the best person possible, but that can only go so far. And I totally get, that it's for everyone else but me. So, and I haven't quite deserved it yet. And we were raised with that prayer, Lord, I'm not worthy, but only say the word and my soul shall be healed. And then I can have communion with you, God. And that is an old prayer that is time to put it to bed. It's time to put it to rest.
I remember when I started listening to the words that I was saying, I'm like, I'm not saying that one. I'm not saying it. I'm not putting that curse on myself.
No, you're all worthy. And even I think one of the biggest openings in my spiritual development is when I realized that they want to know my problems. They want to know my pain. They want to hold me so that I can heal and be the best person. Because when I'm in the best person I possibly can, and I love myself and I'm feeling okay, I do a good job in my life. I have fun in my life. But when I'm like scared to death, it's not the best possible life. So it does, it comes to its own natural ending before we can step into the next level of development.
Yeah.
That there's nothing between us and God.
Working with the light was when I started to change, and when I was able to understand what I was going through and why there was this disconnect. And when I could feel the light, I started to understand who God was and what all of this was about. And that was my path. That's what I needed. No words really convinced me. It was being with the light, which is very much the same as being with God. And
It is the same. It is.
And it's an experience that has no words because it doesn't have any words. I mean, you could say the purple ray of peace, you could say the deep rose pink ray of spiritual love. You could say those words, but when you stop talking and just let it come in, you start with faith, right? It starts to teach your soul and your body and your mind and your emotions. It starts to teach you with this nonverbal language what love is, what peace feels like, what joy feels like, even abundance, even prosperity. What does that feel like? At first, you feel your resistance to it. First, you feel all of the things you say that you say to yourself when you're worried about money, and then after a while, it just goes away, and then you start to kind of feel like, well, why not? I could be abundantly prosperous. Why not?
Yeah.
No one's saying no to me except for me. So anyway, you go through your process with each light, because it's bringing a consciousness to you, and it's helping you to undo all the misunderstandings in your mind and in your heart and your soul.
Yeah.
And
There's
no one can tell you. It's a personal experience.
No, but once you're doing it,
but you got to do it.
You got to do it. You got to do it.
You can't talk
Yeah,
about doing the meditation. You have to actually do it.
it's true. That's true. Um,
And I'm the first one to say I procrastinated. So
oh, oh, me too. There's so many things that come up that seem so compelling and so important, or it's difficult to get to any kind of quiet work, inner work, meditation work, however you do it. The colors for me, because they're so beautiful and I relate to them.
and you don't have to see them.
No, you don't have to
You
see
don't
them.
have
You
to
just, they feel them.
just be with them. Even if you
Yeah.
don't feel them, they're there. Because eventually you do. After a while, you just like, something's here. Hey, something's here.
So,
I feel tingly all over.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, so inner work, I think we've really covered what inner work is to, and that inner spiritual work, you do need to have your spirit, your soul, and God hanging out with you, doing it. And there's many different modalities to work with inner child and color healing and talking to your spirit guides. They're working with a healer. It's under just reviewing. You want to work with a healer who talks to your spirit guides and talks to your soul, and they're healing, they're listening to what your guides have to say about you and responding to them. That's an important thing, to kind of be aware of if you're in a healing with working with somebody in a healing modality and things aren't quite moving forward for you. It's time to step back and say, what's the intent? What's the motivation? What are we doing here? Am I doing the inner work I need to do? Or am I going through the motions without God, as we talked about?
Mhm.
So what else could, summing up things, I'm looking at, and if there's any questions here, can you please repeat the process to receive healing? I live far, remote sessions available face to face. I feel like I wanted to repeat that you could reach out through direct messaging on Facebook to either me or to Patty. And you can look up Healing with Patty Shaw, and you can talk to her about having direct. She does, you do work remotely for people out of state. If you, you're so inclined, if someone wants to get a hold of you, and you'll be happy to talk with them about what you have available. For sure.
Sure will.
So to receive healing, it's, you're feeling yucky, you just ask for healing, you just set yourself up, you're sitting in the house all by yourself, or maybe you just put the kids to bed, the house is finally quiet for 10 minutes, and you want to receive healing because you're exhausted. What do you do? Quick.
You ask. You can say as a prayer, and then often it's said the prayer is the asking and the meditation is the receiving. So you ask and then you're quiet and you have faith and trust that your answers are coming, your prayers are being answered.
Yeah,
Um, a friend of mine uses the word shower. Shower me in peace. Shower me in love.
I like that shower.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to add, I just feel kind of inspired to add, is that we have a lot of beliefs, faith that takes us through, and our beliefs often support our faiths. But sometimes when we step into a healing practice or a healing, things are shifting within ourselves. Those beliefs can poof out or can crumble and be disproved, and it can feel like a crisis, a personal crisis. It's the faith. It's the faith. It's the working with the energies. It's working with God or soul or angels, that make the bridge from the beliefs to the healing. I just wanted to say that when your beliefs are poofing out, you feel like I did all the things I thought I was supposed to do, or that kind of thing. You're in a belief structure that's probably a stuck energy, that it's time to let it go. And it's nerve-wracking to let those beliefs go because you feel betrayed. You feel like all this time I was doing this and it's not real, whatever it is, in your mind. It's those belief systems need to go in order, and it's faith that walks you through to the new place in your head and in your heart.
Yep.
So that's
Yep.
inner work, big time.
Yep. And make sure that when you're leaning on your faith, that it's not blind faith, that it's discerning and you're asking questions and you're being not a victim. You're being
Mhm.
intelligent about it.
Mhm. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
God gave us this mind for something.
And the mind is tricky because the mind can take us left, can take us right. What we feed our mind is where our minds will take us. So feed your mind. Here, I feel really good sitting here having this tea, or I feel really good when I can finally meditate and feel, okay, help me do more of this, or I want to find more of this. So we can retrain your mind to continue on a healing path, because the mind will hold the belief systems real well. And the mind is sometimes the last one to let go of a belief system that's sabotaging you or whatever. So, and that can take interventions of angels sometimes.
Take good care of your mind. Open it to inspiration, divine inspiration, not Joe down the street inspiration.
Absolutely. Patty, I think we've gotten some really wonderful comments, and I'd be very cool to
Awesome.
have you come on again and go to some more aspects of this inner healing. People are very excited about it. There's a lot of information out there. So I wanted to actually talk about your books. You have Akashic book,
DIY Akashic
DIY
Wisdom.
Akashic
Do it
Wisdom.
yourself, written with
Yeah.
our other sister, Jackie.
And
then
we,
The Healer's Almanac.
yeah,
And that was written, that's the first book I wrote in 2009. But it's still
Wow.
available through Coventry Creations. It's a great little book to learn about all the different healing modalities that are available. That was really focused on alternative healing techniques.
And you're welcome to go to coventrycreations.com, and there's a plethora of things.
Lots of candles.
Lots of
and sprays
candles
and oils to
and
help you
books.
through.
Yeah. And lots of books that will help you do the inner work, help you manifest healing in your life. And I
Mhm.
really,
Yep.
every week I try to bring resources here for you guys to try out, to move on your soul power journey. And Patty's one of them, and Coventry Creations with the books is another one. And reach out, use these resources. They're available to you, but you have to be the one to reach out. So please do that. And I want to wish you all a lot of blessings, and may your journey grow deep and wide, and with a lot of joy, and your sense of well-being continue to grow in your lives. And till next time, we will, I wish you the best.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for joining the Angelscapes podcast. We hope you've gained new insights and inspiration for your journey to uncover and access your soul's power. For more information and a deeper dive into finding clarity in your life, go to angelscapes.com. Remember to subscribe so you can be part of the discussion. It may just change your life. See you next time.